Well, it's Friday, and you all know what that means. As you know, we have AEW Rampage featuring some interesting matches. However, the main event features, of course, Top Flight, Dante and Darius Martin taking on MXM Collection. As you know, they've been picking on them recently, but TK decided to pull through and give these guys what they want. So we will see who will come out on top of this match. And then, of course, we're going to see who levels up on this latest episode of NXT Level Up. So, and then we move on. Well, first things first, we're going to be reviewing two other events, and they're both from the Japanese promotions. One is from All Japan Pro Wrestling with the Summer Action Wars. This one features, of course, the junior heavyweight title. Naruki Doi defends his belt against Musashi. And then, of course, we have the Triple Crown Championship defended. Yuma Anzai defends the belt against a man who should have been facing this for this belt months ago. We're talking about Rei Sato. And then we move on with more with Pro Wrestling Noah with the N1 victory. So there's a lot of good things that happen. But this one also features the GHC Heavyweight Tag Team titles defended. So we will be covering that too. And then we cap up our episode with some news updates to give you guys updates what's been happening in the world of pro wrestling, such as what events the promotions are thrown out, what's booked, what matches are set, including developments that are happening in the world of pro wrestling as we speak. So, let's get ready for another episode of the Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to the Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that it's pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel where we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK. Anywhere in the world where pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information was unable to be on this episode, we can put it on a separate video by itself or on the next episode. And of course, we have real-timing news updates in case if things happen in the world of pro wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We got the United Sayaka Watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us or click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, all introductions set aside, it's time to turn up the heat. So, let's begin with our very first review, and I believe this is from the Japanese promotion, All Japan Pro Wrestling. Okay, All Japan Pro Wrestling. Summer Action Wars. Now, I haven't been covering All Japan for some time because apparently some of the other Japanese promotions were getting away, but luckily I decided. But this particular event took place back on August 3rd. Now, I know we're like halfway through the month or so, and you probably asked, well, they haven't done another show after this one. But luckily I decided, what the hell. Now let's begin with our very first match. This one we have tag team action, and we have Ryu Ono and Dam Tamra taking on Seki Yoshioka and Shotaro Ashino. The match was pretty good. I did like it. But also, what was interesting is Dan Tamra was the one who picked up the win onto, of course, Yoshioka. And because he won this match, it led to him to put the tag team titles on the line. Yoshioka was one half of the tag team champions. And of course, he didn't say a word. He knew what was coming. He knew that sooner or later Dan Tamra was going to issue the challenge. So that's very obvious to anybody who follows how things will roll in pro wrestling. But we'll see what happens. Next up, we have a bit of an 8-man tag team match or so. We have Kuma Arashia, Aizawa number 1, Hartley Jackson, Cyrus, and Hakuto Omori take on Fumino Abe, Hideki Suzuki, Yuma Oyagi, Seigo Tachibana, and of course, Kuroshio Tokyo Japan, better known as Ikemenjiro. Now, of course, with Ikemenjiro, you know he's a little funny guy. He takes his time before the start of the bell. But however, no one was playing games here. Now, apparently, what was happening, I'm going to skip a little bit ahead about this match, is that Tachibana had a problem with Aizawa number 1. So basically, he was fighting him, but it was Aizawa that turned it around, but did allow for, of course, what's his name, Omori to pick up the win with a frog splash onto, of course, Tachibana, winning the match. Next up, this is for the All Japan World Junior Heavyweight Championship. We have Musashi taking on Naruki Doi. Pretty good match, I'm not gonna lie. Interesting enough. However, I know Naruki Doi, he is a very sneaky, clever little bugger, if you guys know what I mean. He will find ways to ensure he wins the match in any way possible, even if he has to cut corners. But however, he didn't do that until, of course, he pulled off the victory roll, and just like that, it was over. So he picked up a fantastic win. But however, apparently we had a new challenger, and that challenger is none other than Ryo Anu. And then Ryo Anu just super kicked him and told him not to mess around with them. Now our next match, we have a 6-man tag match. We have Kento Miyahara, Hikaru Sato, and Suwama taking on the faction known as El Pira, consistent of Ruki Honda, Rising Hayato, and Ren Ayabe. Now, much of this match, you may know, there's always cohesion between the tag teams. Now, in this particular situation, Kento is not in good terms with Suwama, but he was willing to put that aside for the benefit of the team. But Suwama, who has his fair issues with Kento, and of course Hikaru Sato, who's a follower of Suwama, are not paying attention. But did this get allowed for El Pira to, in fact, of course, jump in to take action? But it was Ayabe who picked up the win by pinning Sato, and just like that, it was over. Now our next match, this one is a very interesting one. We have Jun Saito taking on someone you guys know all too well. We're talking about Davey Boy Smith Jr. That's right, the son of the late British Bulldog. So yes, he's in All Japan now, folks, just to make that clear. Some of you may question, why didn't he go to New Japan? That's obvious. New Japan officials would just look at him as a tag team specialist. They never gave him credit as a singles competitor. But it's great that All Japan are giving him that opportunity, because his primary goal is to get the Triple Crown Championship. But I have to say, the match was unbelievably good. It was a great Haas match, but unfortunately, it was Jun Saito that applied a brain buster onto Smith, and just like that, it was over. Now our main event is the Triple Crown Champion. Jun's brother, Ri Sato, will take on Yuma Anzai. Now, this particular match should have happened months ago. Now, some of you may question why they took too long. Well, I don't know. But the reason is this: Ri Sato injured himself. His brother Jun decided to step up in his name to hopefully maybe bring these belts to the Saito brothers. But however, that wasn't successful. But this time, Ri Sato gets his match that he's been longing for. But the real question is, you ask yourselves, will that be enough? Well, truth to be told, I know Ri Sato put the hurt on him, the pain on him, but however, that didn't do any well for him because somehow Yumanzai actually turned it around, and just like that, he picked up a fantastic win onto Risato, and just like that, it was over. However, because of this, what does this mean for the Triple Crown title? Well, you would think that there's going to be someone to challenge, and that challenger is none other than, of course, the former champion, Yuma Aoyagi. So basically, he's the one stepping up. So we'll see what happens until then. But for now, we'll end things like this with All Japan. Let's move on with Pro Wrestling Noah. Okay, as we continue with more with the N1 victory by Pro Wrestling Noah, we are now in day 5. Now, we're going to be, as you all know, certain wrestlers were no longer involved, so their matches were forfeited. Um, Wagner was, Hijo de Dr. Wagner was supposed to be in a match against Titus Alexander, but due to the situation where he wasn't feeling well, because the last match he was about to vomit and all that, he forfeited his match, so that means that Titus Alexander gains 2 points with the matter of 6. Now let's jump in with matches coming from the A block. We have Dragon Bane versus Kaito Kiyomiya. So I thought this match was pretty good. Now you probably would have assumed just by watching this that it somehow, what's his name? Dragon Bane would have pulled up an upset. I mean, he would have defeated Kaito Kiyomiya and maybe catch an opportunity of the GHC heavyweight title. But no, Kaito Kiyomiya once again applied the infamous Shining Wizard, and that allowed him to pick up the win. So he gains 2 points, but right now he has a total of 5. Don't forget, he did have a win earlier and a draw. But as for Dragon Bane, he is still at 6 points. Now to the B block, we have Tavion Heights taking on Kento. OFNG. I cannot believe what I saw. This was an unbelievable match. You guys wouldn't have missed it. I mean, you know Kento, guys. He's a total badass. He's the kind of guy who is not afraid. He's always not afraid to speak his mind, but he does all his talking in the ring. But when it comes to Tavion Heights, you can tell there was a fire lit into him in this one, and I wasn't too sure, but this was a major upset. Tavion Heights pick up a win against him, with, of course, making this one Kento's first loss in the tournament, and he applied the belly-to-belly suplex, and just like that, Tavion Heights won. The fans are behind him. He currently has a total of 4 points. Now, as for Kento, he has only 6, with only 1 loss so far. So that's a very interesting to go on. Now, our next match, we go back to the A block. We have Josh Briggs versus Masa Kitamiya. Now, of course, just by watching this, you know for a fact this was a house fight, that it was about to happen sooner or later. 2 big of the strongest individuals from opposite sides of the Pacific and 2 different continents. You know for a fact one of them was going to walk out. Now, I know how powerful Masa can be, but when it comes to Josh Briggs, that's a different story. He brings a different type of levelness that they couldn't have right now in NXT, but he brought it. He actually picked up his next 2 points by applying a lariat, and just like that, it was over. So he gets 2 points with the matter of 6. So he's currently tied with, of course, with Titus Alexander, Dragon Bane, Keno, and now him. But the real question is, how far can he go? We'll see where that jumps in. Now, this next match, we're off the tournament. This is for the GHC Heavyweight Tag Team titles. We have the challengers, Shui Taniguchi and Shuji Ishikawa, taking on the champions, Naomichi Marufuji and Takeshi Sugiura. Now, this is the second or third reign that these 2 guys have together. Now, remember, these guys are OG members of Noah, and that sets it up. But however, how will, of course, Taniguchi and Ishikawa will try to overcome it? Well, you know they were going to bring some pain and hurt from them, but in the end, it was the ankle lock by Sugiura onto Taniguchi that forced them to tap, knowing too well there was no escape from that, and just like that, it was completely over. However, there in the commentary booth, we did see, of course, Akitoshi, who in fact is commentating. His teammate, tag partner, told them that they need to get to the ring, and looks like that they issued the challenge to the champions for a shot. Now, very soon we know that Akitoshi Saito will retire soon, so this is more like a now or never type of situation that Yone knows. So he knows his time is running out, but sooner or later this was going to happen. Now, our next match, we're back to the A block and the N1. We have Jack Morris versus Rohei Oiwa. Now, Rohei Oiwa does not have a great record on this one. Not to mention, he did have a draw with, what's his name? With Kiyomiya. But however, he's facing against a guy who started out bad and back on track. But however, it was, of course, a backslide that allowed for Oiwa to pick up the win against Jack Morris. However, he only is currently with 3 points, with just one win, one draw, and I forgot how many losses. But yes, that's how it rolls. But as for Jack Morris, he is still stuck at 4. Now, our main event, we're in the B block. We have Yoshiki Inamari taking on Manabu Soya. This is another Haas fight, if you know what I'm talking about. This is one of those matches you don't want to miss. I have to say, what an incredible match. Now, for just by watching this, I would have assumed that Manabu Soya was going to walk out as the victor, but no. Inamari was able to pick up the win by applying Muso, and just like that, he is still alive. So we know he never in the past he never had any great track record in the N1, but somehow he's getting better and better. So I'm not sure if he's the one of the potential guys that could win the N1, but we will see until we get to the end. But for now, we'll end things here with Noah and move on with AEW Rampage. Okay, AEW Rampage. Open up with 6-man tag team action. We have the Conglomerate, Orange Cassidy, Tomohiro Ishii, and Mark Briscoe, while their other fellow member of the conglomeration heads to the commentary booth and have a little nice conglomerate time with, of course, with Tony Schiavone, Daddy Magic, and of course, Excalibur. They face against the Outrunners and of course, the Butcher. Now, if you probably ask yourself, we have a weird setting of misfits of different types teaming up. Well, you probably be right. But however, you can tell that the conglomeration did everything well what they were supposed to do. But it was, of course, Mark Briscoe with Truth Magnum, with the J Driller giving him and the conglomerate their next win. But however, while of course the Outrunners remain in the ring licking their wounds, their little valet person, Erica Lee, is scheduled to face against the Native Beast. So basically, she was put through the lion's den. However, I don't know what the hell was Turbo thinking. He just shoved her right through there. I'm like, Turbo, she's gonna kick you in the groin one of these days. But you can guess that, of course, with Nyla put her away with the Beast Bomb, and just like that, it was over. Now, Saraya and Harley Cameron made their way to the ring, do a little promo. Apparently, in a couple of days or so, what they were saying, it was going to be, of course, Saraya's birthday. Now, of course, Saraya's not happy with the idea. She did not get her Wembley moment that she might be hoped for. However, she get a surprise visit from an old friend, and that is, of course, Toni Storm. So Toni Storm decided, that she will give her a title shot on Wednesday. And, of course, if she beats her, she gets her Wembley moment. However, I think Tony Schiavone does make a good, compelling point. Is this really wise coming from the champion to put her title on the line? before she meets Mariah May, I don't know. You can say it's selfish as much as you want, but hope she knows what she's doing. Now our next match, we have Kip and Sabian taking on Nick Wayne. Now, of course, as you know, Kip Sabian has been victimized of the patriarchy on multiple occasions. He got a little bit of measure of revenge with Nick Wayne when he got his ass handed to him by the House of Torture, no, by the House of Black. However, Nick Wayne decided to give him a match, and of course, when it comes to Nick, his mom and Killswitch gets involved, and then of course the Wayne's role was applied, and Nick Wayne picks up the win. Now we do see a little segment in the back where, of course, Scorpio Sky was invited to go to a private party by a private party. So basically, the security guard didn't let him through, but good thing private party did told him to let him through. And I don't know what exactly is going on, so I'm kind of curious about it. Now our next match, we have Kyle Fletcher and Roosh taking on KM and Red Titus, but you probably can guess that this match ends with Roosh giving the horns to Red Titus, and just like that, it was won. However, in the backstage area, Roosh was telling him that, now do you know how dangerous I can be? So basically, he wants tougher competitors. So basically, I know Don Callis will be pleased. However, Kyle Fletcher apologized to Don Callis about last week, but he told him, hey, we're family, right? So basically, he understands what's going on. Now our main event, Top Flight versus MX Collection. If you guys notice, Dante, Darius, they dressed up as pilots. Same thing with Action Andretti, and of course we have Layla Gray. I thought it was a pretty cool match. But the one thing that was funny is Mansoor, he got caught in the middle between Layla Gray and Mansoor. So basically, you don't know what to do. But Leo Rush was watching this from the commentary booth. Now, you can tell by the look that MX could have won this match, but nope. It was a frog splash by Dante Martin that allowed them to pick up the win. And of course, Top Flight, they'll be making their way to the top as whenever they get an opportunity. But we will see what happens until then. But for now, we'll leave things like this with AEW and move on with NXT Level Up. Okay, so who levels up on this latest episode of NXT Level Up? Let's find out. Our first match, we have Mark Coffey versus Cutler James. Now, of course, Mark Coffey is not impressed with Cutler James. He just thinks that he's just a weakling fool or, a total moron, however he wants to think about it. I mean, Cutler James is a real capable wrestler, but he hasn't brought that factor where he has to stand out. But of course, when it comes to Mark Coffey, you know where he stands. You know that they're sending a message to the rookies who they feel they're stealing their spotlight. They feel, you're not taking our spotlight, punk. This is our spotlight. So, unfortunately, Cutler James got knocked out, and just like that, it was over. And that gave, of course, Mark Coffey the win. And of course, Cutler, he knows what he got himself into, but he knows he has to learn from his mistakes. Now, before the main event, we have Andrea Rizzo with another person. I don't know who it is. They were doing one of those TikTok dancing things until they were interrupted by Izzy Dame. Now, of course, Izzy Dame is currently on her temper tantrum. She was not picked to be part of that six-way match to determine who will be the number one contender to face Roxanne Perez. So, Andrea Rizzo got herself a match against him. Now, you would think that Izzy Dame, who is a strong, capable wrestler, had the capability to pick up the win. Well, you would have thought the same thing, but Rizzo was able to turn it around when she applied a risotto, or whatever it's called, that flip that she does, and just like that, she picked up a good win. So, better luck next time, Izzy Dame. But we'll see what Rizzo will do down the line. We do know she's involved in that six-way match, so we'll see. But I think we're keeping this one short. Let's move on with the last and final thing, news updates. welcome to our news updates. Now, as you all know, later on this month, on the 24th of August, we have the next upcoming event by Baka Gaijin and friends. Well, apparently there was a change in the card for their upcoming event, and pardon my language because that's the name of the event, Fucked Up Fest. Apparently one of their competitors involved in the international four-way match, Mamonoth, apparently is unable to participate in this particular day due to some commitments of other work that he's been doing as well. But luckily they were able to replace him with another person, and that is of course Mecha Mummy. So it's going to be Mecha Mummy facing against Dr. Gore, Shavam, and Jake the Leon. So that's practically the match that's happening. Now, this is a very interesting one, and especially if you guys are big Mina Shirakawa fans. RevPro announced for their 12th anniversary show, also on the 24th of August, the undisputed British Women's Championship will be defended. Dani Luna defends her belt against Mina Shirakawa. Now, I know some of you were thinking you want to see Mina to win this belt and take it back with her to Stardom. I mean, it would be a great thing because we do know that RevPro does have a great working relationship with New Japan, but it's very, and of course with CML and possibly with AEW. But nonetheless, we'll see what happens. And then finally, as you know, on the 31st of this month, we have the NWA 76 in Philadelphia. Two things have been announced. First, we have a four-way match. We have Mims versus Brian Idol versus Burcho versus Carson Drake. So that's one match. And then, of course, we continue to add more names for the Burke Invitational Gauntlet. They have Adriana Mosley. So she will be participating in this event. Now, for some developments, Fightful Select reports that Adam Cole will be having some in-ring training real soon. It's great that he'll be back. I mean, it's been so long since we haven't seen him. Hopefully he is better than ever. So we'll stay on top of that. You may have heard that a name was filed for a trademark, and this one is called the Hurt Syndicate. Now, some of you may think, is this like a new version of the Hurt Business? It is a possibility because the name was filed from a company, from a name that it's been used before by one particular person, and that is MVP. So most likely we could see something like that, but we'll just wait and see. Now, some interesting developments. You may have remembered I mentioned on the last episode with our news updates that All In, AEW All In will not be taking place in Wembley Stadium in 2025. It's going to be taking place at the Globe Life Arena in Arlington, Texas, home of the Texas Rangers. Now, those who don't know this, this is really interesting. I actually played Little League when I was a kid. The first team I've ever played in was the Texas Rangers. Yeah, so basically we were kind of like represent that, and I was a huge fan of Nolan Ryan, who was in fact with the Rangers a long time ago. So even though I'm a San Diego native, but I was a fan of course, Nolan Ryan. Now, skipping that. However, a little interesting thing. Someone is very happy that they're going to be at the Globe Life Arena, and that is, of course, none other than the Brick House, Kamille. It turns out that she used to work there. Very interesting. And this is what she posted on her X account. Last time I worked in Arlington, I was a 6-shooter. Maybe July 2025, I'll be working as the AEW Women's Champion. Not letting get my head up myself. I mean, yeah. I mean, we could see that. I mean, if Tony Khan books it that way, I'm not going to say it's not going to happen, but we should not be ahead of ourselves. But it would be a great moment. I mean, if she's from the general area, why not? She's the hometown girl. So we'll see what happens. Now, Mariah May was in fact on Bustin' Open Radio, and she just talked about her story when it comes to AEW, about how this whole thing came about. So this is what she said. The reason I chose AEW is because Tony came to me with this Tony Storm story. So it was like, okay, I'm not just being signed to the company because she's got a bit momentum or anything like that. It's like, we have a real plan for you, and it was something to sink my teeth into. I've got to work closely with RJ City. He's such a talented writer on this whole character and this whole story. So basically, she knows what she was getting herself into. But yeah, I think it was like, okay, she wasn't signed because of that. They thought they had this plan. So I have to say it was a pretty good one. Now, I normally would do this when it comes to start of the episode, but unfortunately, I did not do that. You may have heard the sad news that Afa, one half of the Wild Samoans, passed away. Uh, you all know recently that Sika passed away before him, who is the father of Roman Reigns. Afa is, of course, Sika's brother and Roman Reigns' uncle. Very tragic day in the Anou'i family. Of course, he will be remembered as one of the most amazing tag teams of his time, but he will not be forgotten. So, rest in peace. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Coming up, we have, of course, the G1 to continue. We are now entering the semifinals. So basically, we have, of course, Yota Tsuji taking on David Finlay, and of course, we have Shingo Takagi taking on David Finlay. No, Zack Sabre Jr. So that's gonna be interesting. And of course, we do have, of course, more of the AEW Collision. Now, as we speak, we do have Stardom as we continue with more of the 5-star Grand Prix, but I'm not sure if I'll be able to see it. But if I do, then we'll get that going as well. So as right now, we'll leave things as it is, and we'll go from there. So until then, I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I'm going to bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye, and have a nice day. Bang.